Hi everyone, how's everyone doing? Hope you're all well. Now, before we kick off with this webinar session, if anybody's got any technical challenges, feel free just to hit the refresh button on your web browser, or if you're tuning on the YouTube app, feel free to come out of the app and click back onto it, and hopefully everything should be working for you. So welcome to this Google Digital Garage webinar session, all about how you can build and optimize your site. My name is Rikesh. I'm going to be your presenter, taking you through the course of this session, which is going to last for 15 minutes. So as well as being a trainer for Google's digital skills program, Google Digital Garage, I'm also a digital marketer to work with businesses to help them to create and grow an online presence in order to attract more customers and clients to them respectively. And a large part of an online presence for any organization is their website, and that's going to be the topic of today's conversation. So that's a little bit about me. I'd also like to introduce you at this stage my colleague and fellow Google Digital Garage trainer, and that is Benedict. Now, Benedict's going to be our chat moderator. So you might notice on the right hand side of your screen here on YouTube that there is a live chat box. That's your space to get involved as we go throughout the course of this session on build and optimize your sites. Feel free to get involved, type away in that live chat box for any comments or any questions that you may have. And in the time that we have together, either myself and or Benedict will be able to kind of answer or provide kind of guidance on some of those questions that you do or may have as we progress throughout the course of this session. Speaking of this session on build and optimize your site, let's have a look at what we're covering in the session today. So we're first of all going to be looking at how we can build your site. We're then going to be progressing that on and then actually looking at, well, once we've built a website, how do we test it? And if you have a website built already, how do you test it? And what do we mean by testing? What does testing do as well? So we'll be having a look at that as well. And then we'll be wrapping up this session looking at some general kind of best practices when it comes to optimizing your site in order to make it and kind of be the best version that it can be of itself in general as well. So kicking off with building your site. So Google Sites. Some of you may or may not have heard of it. Some of you may already out there have your business or your organization's website built through Google Site. Now you can see here on screen with Google Sites, there are no startup costs. It's available to set up at no charge. You can use templates to help to create a simple website. And you can see here that there is no software that is required. And the beauty of Google Sites is, for me, the fact that you can have templates. So you can see here on screen that there's a template gallery. So it kind of helps when, rather than kind of starting from blank, if you don't really know how you want a website to look, you can use these templates. It's kind of like a base layer. And then you can mold it to how you want it to look in terms of the design, in terms of the look and feel of it as well. Now, in order to create a website through Google Sites, you can visit the website there on screen, which is sites.google.com. And I'm sure that Bendit will kind of drop a link to Google Sites in the chat for you as well. And another benefit of creating a website through Google Sites is that every time that you are making a design change, or you're adding a heading, or you are adding a description here or there on a web page, is that your work, your changes are being saved in the background. As you can see here on screen, your work gets saved onto Google Drive by default. So there's not going to be a time where you are working, you've just created a really good looking web page, and then maybe your laptop battery kind of goes to 0% and everything kind of goes blank. And then you're just wondering, has my work been saved or not? Because you kind of have that kind of safe knowledge that everything is automatically being saved in the background for you. Now, in terms of Google Sites and the design side of things, you can create web pages just like you can see with this graphic here. You can insert new pages. You can add themes, as you can see here, with different types of fonts. And you can obviously make sure that you create a sense of kind of continuity throughout your website by ensuring that you have the same font running throughout. You can create new pages, as you can see here with the graphic itself. You can reorder the pages as well. And then you can obviously change things like colors as well when it comes to kind of the way that you want your website to come across in terms of the look and feel of it. So you can use colors that represent your organization as well here going forward. So in terms of kind of adding content, so we've already spoken about kind of adding pages, and we saw that kind of graphic there on screen. But there's also other things that we can add, and you can see here there's quite a long list here on the insert tab. So there's things like collapsible group, you've got table of contents, image carousel, so it flicks and you can kind of click an arrow button and it goes to kind of the next image and the next image. You've got divider, so you can kind of split up a particular web page if you've got different types of information on there as well. So there's a lot of different types of content that you can create. So the way I like to kind of look at web pages a lot of the time, it's a little bit like a painter that has a paintbrush and has a blank canvas, and you can create the look and feel of each individual web page for your website going forward as well. Now, something I touched upon a moment or so ago was branding. And branding is very important because branding, it kind of showcases the visual look and feel of your website. So it gives the person who's going onto your website, the website visitor, a sense of generally kind of a sense of, okay, well, these are kind of the colors that are used by this organization because they are the colors that are in their logo, for instance, as well. And that kind of creates a sense of familiarity, and creating a sense of consistency and familiarity builds trust with a potential customer or a potential client of yours as well. So you can kind of, as you can see here, you can kind of pick a logo. You can add your logo to each individual web page. So you can kind of add it in kind of the header section. So every time the menu bar appears, your logo will also appear. But you can also upload and add something known as a favicon. So a favicon are those kind of little images that you typically would have seen before on your web browser page, which is at the top of the tab. And that is really useful, especially if you've got loads and loads of tabs open. It's really useful for an individual to think, oh yeah, that's the logo of that organization. I can easily click onto that tab because I know that I've already opened that page up going forward as well. So that's something that you can also upload using Google Sites there as well. Now, once we've got our website set up, whether it be through Google Sites or other website building platforms out there, we want to test it. But why is it important to test our website? Well, you can see here by this statistic that 53% of mobile users abandon sites that take more than 3 seconds to load. We've become, I guess, kind of increasingly impatient over the years. So I'm sure many of you out there, even if your home Wi-Fi is running a little bit slow, we get impatient these days as well. And that's very important to be aware of when it comes to our website and looking to attract website visitors. So we want to test out the speed of our website. And the way that we can test our website speed is by a fantastic tool called Test My Site. You can see the link here on screen. I'm sure that Bender will kind of drop the link in the chat for you as well. But Test My Site is part of the Think with Google website. And if you type in your website address, hit enter. What Test My Site does is that it tests how quick your website and your web pages load, and it will give you some top tips and improvements on how you can increase the speed of your website in general. And some of these tips might be useful, and you can kind of go away and think, oh yeah, let me do this, this, and this on the website. And some other tips you might think, oh, I might need to consult somebody. I might need to jump onto YouTube and type in how to do this or how to do that. But it's very important to kind of test your site speed and do this on kind of a regular basis to make sure that it's loading as short, as snappy as possible as well. Now, to kind of wrap up and kind of round off this session, let's actually have a look at some kind of general best practices when it comes to optimizing your site, which includes optimizing your site in terms of speed as well. So one of the things that we can do is reduce image size. So you can see here, you've got an image of the acoustic guitar on the left-hand side, which is quite a really good and kind of sharp image. But the one on the right-hand side, it's a little bit grainy. But this image itself, it's still kind of visible. You can still tell that it's a guitar. But the image on the right-hand side is actually being compressed. So the actual file size of that image is actually much less than the one on the left-hand side. And if you are thinking about something like a product page, for instance, or even kind of service-based images that you're kind of adding onto your website, think about kind of how big is that image going to be? And if you reduce the image size quality, will people still be able to make out what it is and what it looks like as well? And having kind of smaller image sizes, that helps with kind of the speed of a website going forward as well. And there's some fantastic websites which helps to kind of reduce image sizes. There's the likes of compressed JPG, you've got compressed PNG out there, and I'm sure there's plenty more that you probably be able to Google as well. Now, another kind of handy tip to be aware of is if you are looking to upload a video to your website, whether it be a Google site or other websites, is rather than kind of uploading that video directly onto your website, because if you were to upload a video that way directly onto your website, then that's something that will affect your website speed as well, because the heavy lifting of that file size, that large file size of the video that you are wanting to show on your website, is actually being taken care of your website provider. And that's where it actually is useful instead to host videos on YouTube. So even if you've decided that you are not really going to be having a presence as a business on YouTube itself, what you can do is still set up a YouTube channel, upload your videos onto YouTube, and then what you can then do is you can actually embed your videos onto your website specifically as well. And what this does is it actually takes the heavy lifting off of your website with the videos, and it actually puts that burden essentially onto YouTube. So when your website and your web pages load with videos, they will kind of appear short and snappy because it's all being hosted elsewhere, i.e. through YouTube as well. And with Google Sites, you might have seen earlier on that in kind of the insert section, one of the options was YouTube, and all you have to then do is just kind of copy and paste the link to that specific video that you want to include in terms of your video that you want to kind of publish onto your website, and that's something that goes in and kind of embeds into your website itself as well. Now, for kind of further help and assistance with kind of website, if there are a few things that are maybe kind of a little bit too technical, or you may not have time to actually resolve certain matters or maybe improve your website speed, then it's a case of maybe consider kind of speaking to a specialist who might have kind of a little bit of knowledge going forward as well. So apart from that, kind of it's over to you. Kind of go to Google Sites to kind of start building your website. And if you've already got a website built, be sure to kind of jump on to Test My Site, and always be kind of in that kind of mindset of optimization with your website, rather than kind of just rather than that mindset of set and forget. It's important to always kind of keep on top of things with your website itself as well. Now, in terms of your next steps, moving on from this webinar session, be sure to check out the Google Digital Garage website, where you'll actually find the link to that in the video description box below where I'm pointing, where you're able to sign up for further webinars, just like you did with this session, as the webinar sessions are available for you to attend at no charge. Be sure to also check out the online courses section, where you'll see a list of lots of online courses which aim to kind of supplement the learning that you do on these webinar sessions as well. There is a course on there in particular called the Fundamentals of Digital Marketing course, which is a course that upon completion, you'll actually receive an added bonus of receiving a certificate at no charge from Google, recognizing that you've completed that course as well. So apart from that, I want to say a few thank yous. I want to say thank you to Benedict, who I'm sure you'd agree has been a wonderful chat moderator and has been providing useful links in the chat as we've gone along. And I want to say a massive thank you to you all for tuning in to this Google Digital Garage webinar session. I hope that you find that you found it useful, and that you'll kind of use some of these kind of tips, these best practices going forward in terms of your website going forward as well. So thank you very much for tuning into this Google Digital Garage webinar session, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thank you. Goodbye.